back to another Newsday episode of the Shrewd Dudes podcast. Man, we got a lot of very big variety today because apparently Thanksgiving weekend, it just becomes a menagerie, a cornucopia of news stories. So we're going to cover a whole bunch of them. Apparently there's some bad ornaments in the White House with the national Christmas tree being toppled, which, kind of signifies Joe Biden's stupidity. Young boys are now stealing giant construction machinery, and they're kind of wreaking havoc, which is great. We're going to cover some of the fallout from last week from the Irish protest, as well as from Elon Musk fixing up his reputation. Tommy Robinson is back at it again, of course, and he's always doing some good stuff. And in sports news, apparently Sports Illustrated is up to some no good shenanigans, and another young boy is being accused of shenanigans by woke leftists. It's just getting out of control, people. So we're going to cover this and so many more things today on this week's episode of the Shrewd Dudes podcast. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to another Tuesday Newsday, and we are back.
Doing it, man.
So for our American viewers, we wish you a happy belated Thanksgiving. We hope you enjoyed your weekend because things are back at it and doom has once again fallen upon the world.
Hope it was turkey-licious. And yes. I hope none of you were subjected to tofu turkey, or what are they called? Tofurkey?
Yes.
It's basically like a turkey made of tofu, which just sounds like the most horrific thing ever.
Yes.
Like, vegetarians, you just gotta, you know what? You've made your choice. Stop trying to beat it up. Yeah, you've made your bed, now lie in it. Your bed of broccoli.
A bed of lies.
Bed of lies. Yeah, exactly. Go eat your lettuce. We'll eat our steaks.
Yes.
More for us. We have to make up for the loss of steak that you're not eating. So
exactly, we just have to eat more.
We're doing our part. Really, we're really helping. We're helping
the environment.
We
can't make steak into a rare resource.
Stephen, you just can't make a mistake. But and I'm not even a dad. I'm not even a dad making these like lame dad jokes. It's great.
Yeah, so
that's
Stephen, great.
How was your?
I have very different definitions of great.
How was your non-turkey weekend?
Well, it was pretty fun. We Steph and I had a bit of a kind of a birthday date on Friday.
Ooh, did you get some birthday love?
Yes, I did.
That's right. I'm not referring to that kind of birthday love. I'm referring to just regular, like being loved on your birthday.
Both.
I was like, oh, that kind of went
PG.
I didn't expect. Yeah, now turned this show into a PG-13 show.
Yeah.
Stephen felt very loved this weekend, so this is good times.
Yes, of course.
That's right. Feel free to send love yourself,
Yes, belated birthday. I am now 32 and very old.
That's right. All the white hairs are just starting to pop out everywhere.
Yep. So my one birthday present was I went out and got myself a better graphics card for my computer.
Nicely done.
Nicely done. Yay! But I'm going to be Well, I'm going to be done for a while because it's expensive.
The economy sucks, and we don't have money.
So if anybody in the Calgary area wants a used 2070 Super, I can give you a good deal.
Yes, he can. He's got himself a nice new toy.
Yes. So
for his 4K TV, this guy here living in squalor and putrid, poverty. It's so terrible.
I just find really good deals on stuff, and I never buy anything. I never buy almost anything new in terms of big purchases.
Oh yeah. No, it's just you got to take them when you can get them. Right?
Yeah, if you're not in a rush to buy something, then you can find some really, really epic deals. And then, of course, I'm kicking myself because I bought this graphics card. It was like, yeah, that was a pretty good deal. And then this morning, a better deal shows up, and I'm like, no.
You're like Barney Stinson. Like there's always
There's
a
always
better,
something else around the corner.
There's always a better girl with bigger boobs or better boobs or something else.
Something boobies.
Something booby. Like apparently there's always someone better. You know, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no end to it, Stephen.
Yeah, there's no end to the challenges that you face and put upon yourself.
By the way, you know what's interesting today? I actually had some people come to my door. I was like, I thought I heard the doorbell, and I go to the doorbell to check it out. I'm like, what was going on? And I'm like, oh, some guys there gave me a pamphlet, and I'm like, they're kind of saying hello and all that.
What was it for?
I'm like, oh, are you guys Mormons or are you Jehovah's? And they look at each other and kind of laugh, and they're like, oh no, we're Baptists. I'm like, oh, that is legitimately surprising. Cool, good for you. Yep. Glad you're making the rounds. Not interested.
Making the rounds.
I'm like, how often do you see like actual Christian churches going around and people like, hey, just letting you know we exist? I'm like,
oh,
cool.
It sort of reminds me of like the one time that I got a visit from like when it was election season in Calgary.
Okay.
And I had somebody that came around for it was election season for the municipal election.
Oh, for the Calgary City Kids.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I don't like my MLA, but the alternative is the NDP. So,
yeah.
And so the guy came to the door, and I'm like, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm already convinced. Just put up a sign. And he's like,
that was your UCP one?
Yeah, that was for the UCP. And then that was when I had like the Never Notley sign on and he's like, I like the sign. I figured you were going to be an easy sell. I'm like, yeah.
Like, it's literally the decision between heaven and hell. It's like,
yes.
Which one? That's a tough. Yeah, sure tough. Sure difficult. But speaking of something that's an easy sell, Stephen, tell us about what the Daily Wire is doing. Yeah, we're going to be this Friday.
So, can you explain that gecko poem?
Sorry, what?
Konas atatu.
Diatuit. Konsas at you. That's another language. Not sure which one. Well, definitely not Spanish though. Might be Portuguese. No Gaelish. Why don't you put on the video while I look it up, okay? Maybe it's Gaelic.
Oh, it's Irish.
Ah, there we go.
No, we are not Gaelic. We are Canadian.
It's interesting how it says Gaelish. I'm like, interesting. I wonder if that's Gaelic because I know that that's their national language. It's Gaelic. I'm like, oh,
interesting.
I was right. I figured they used like a totally different like alphabet.
Yes. Well, Ireland to the tags because we're going to be talking about the backlash from the chaos in Dublin and how the Irish government is pursuing Conor McGregor.
So like Conor McGregor.
But yes, we can pull out a decent Irish accent. Even as Canadians.
We try.
But so first question, Gecko. So are you Southern Irish or you're Northern Irish?
You're Northern Irish. If so, you are just garbage.
I have quite a few friends that are Northern Irish, so
they're nice lads.
Well, nice lads being like former IRA, but yeah. Well, no,
they're jolly good folk. You know, they make a decent batch of Guinness.
You're American. Oh, okay, all right.
What? He's American. Wow,
interesting.
That's surprising.
An American that knows Gaelic.
American that speaks Gaelic. Wow, that's impressive.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're doing the fine job, laddie.
Yep. But see, you'll do the Southern Irish. The Southern Irish are like, we're happy folk, and then the Northern Irish are like, I'm gonna kill you stupid fecker.
It's pretty much like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like,
well, it's like the Southerners are just like, oh, we love the British. They're just wonderful. The Northerners are like, we're gonna kill them all.
Why don't you just come down and kiss the blood in his stone?
Exactly.
That's a good time to
but before we jump into the things of Ireland, as Danny said, we're going to be watching a quick little video that was released a couple days ago, or actually yesterday.
It's going to be released on Friday. December 1st.
Some people call them geese.
Canadians probably leave some.
See, most Canadians I just call knuckleheads because they're not exceptionally bright.
Nope, but they will always offer you a nice timbit if they bump into you.
Yes. Yes.
That is the
when
Canadian
the Tim Hortons does not have Timbits ready, then it's just ready for they got to be burned down. Like it's a crime against Canada.
You think I'm kidding, but I'm not even kidding. I literally bumped into a guy. I was biking down by the Saddle Dome here in Calgary, and I was biking, and I kind of lost my balance, and I kind of bumped into a guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. I bumped into you." It's like, "Oh, okay, no offense and all that." It's like, "Hey, you want a donut?" And I'm like, "You're offering me a donut?" It's like, "Yeah, help yourself." And I'm like, "Thanks." Took a donut from the Tim Hortons.
I tried to do.
Okay, you just happen to have a whole bunch of donuts.
I have a funny little story about like offering food to people on the street. So we went to the UK like 15 years ago with my parents, and it was cheaper to buy a box of ice cream bars than it was to buy 4 individual ice cream bars, and the box had 12.
Interesting.
And we're like, well, we don't need 12 ice cream bars.
Stephen, you always need 12 ice cream bars.
So we shared 6 between the 4 of us, so that we'd have a bar and a half each. And then we're trying to offer ice. We're trying to offer the rest. So we're going to other people, and we're like, "Hi, we have this box of ice cream that we can't finish. Would you like one?" And people are just like ushering their children away from us.
You say that in a more creepy way.
And so eventually, after a while, we did find, we're like, they're still in the packaging. We haven't done anything. We're just trying to get rid of them. So, but let's watch this video from the Daily Wire.
Really quick. That comment from I don't even know,
Gecko Pone. It's Leet Speak.
Okay. That they honk in the wee hours. Just don't say Hong Kong, because apparently in Canada that's tantamount to Hail Hitler, according to an MP in our joke of a parliament. It's like Hong Kong, which is basically like conservative, or like what did she say, like a far right speak for like Hail Hitler.
Well, I think she said it was HH, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yes, everyone was like, "Are you an idiot?" Like, I think she is.
Oh,
I think
yes,
she
sure.
is.
So let's watch Lady Ballers from the Daily Wire.
It actually looks good.
It does look pretty funny, and of course, those who are in Calgary and wish to watch the film,
watch it at Steven's house.
Good night, buddy. This is my son.
Good night, Curtis.
Danny says good night, Curtis. Oh, I gotta change the audio inputs that's going through my headphones, so everybody can hear it.
You want to hear something?
Is being transformed. The Daily Wire.
Use the word.
Calls foul with the most triggering comedy of the year.
Triggering.
Ooh.
Wow.
Guys, this is serious. Sports can be your pathway to a better life.
Well, like yours?
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again. Winning matters. It's the key ingredient in becoming a winner.
Maybe we should try it sometime.
Are you gonna move? I am not.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
Hey, you don't know how he identifies.
If you can beat them.
What do you know about the U.S. Opens for the Global Games?
You want us to compete as well.
Woo!
I failed to know the prices.
My lover says you were a great coach back in the day.
Join them.
This is the way the world is now. My 8-year-old daughter told me all about it. So a guy can become a girl with no physical changes at all.
Oh, that's called gender fluid.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice!
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Coach,
We could play basketball.
we have to get the whole team back together.
It's time
We're in. I'm in.
I'm in.
to play
Lady Ballers. Mount up.
I like it.
like a girl.
That's right. I'm with her. I'm in my truth. This is my truth.
From heroes
Day one of being a girl athlete. I love being a girl.
to sheroes.
We could dominate every woman's sport. Running, swimming, soccer. I said sport, Felix!
Oh.
It's ladies basketball, boys. nobody watches.
Excuse me. Are these seats open?
Never mind.
Getting dunks. And tucking trunks.
No, she didn't.
That's
I
the
love
biggest
Michael Knowles
I've ever
there.
seen on a lady.
Is that Michael Knowles?
Lady ball.
Yes.
I was trying. Okay, go back because I was trying to figure out who the heck is
I've
that.
ever seen
I
on a
know,
lady.
like
It's
I
Michael
know.
Knowles.
It's the mustache that threw me off. I knew that was Brett Cooper.
Yeah.
But that he kind of looks like the, like that teacher from like the, you done messed up, hey, Ron. That's what he looks like. He kind of has that face, and like the mustache threw me off so much. I actually didn't know who that was at the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now look how they have everyone in there,
Oh, absolutely
including
everybody.
Biggest
Including-
I've ever seen on a lady.
I don't care.
Ted Cruz.
Lady ball.
Yeah.
One can even be trans age now, which provides
Oh,
Sheila with
this
a
scene.
wonderful opportunity to relive all the experiences that she missed out on in school.
Ooh.
Oh, just waster.
Just wrecked her. Oh no.
This by the way, this movie kind of gives me vibes. Oh, you put on the
Yeah.
This movie gives me the vibes of like of that episode of like South Park with that trans athlete just beating up every single girl he touches, or of Bender from Futurama, where he has that episode where he pretends to be a woman and he pretty much wins every competition because it's super easy to win if you're a guy. I'm like, it is well done. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Like one of the things
I'm looking forward to it. It should be quite
One of the-
entertaining.
one of the things that and I want to see if you agree with me on this one, is that there have not been a lot of really good comedy movies in the last couple of years.
Yep.
And that's Hollywood is just dropping the genre. They can't do comedy anymore. And so they basically I think a lot of them have just stopped trying. And so the Daily Wire is filling a void where pretty much nobody is able to fill that void, actually.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Well-
do you think that that's actually happening, like that comedy?
Yeah, like the whole the aspect of finding satire in this is reminiscent of kind of, as a lot of the Daily Wire hosts have said over the past couple of days,
Right.
where it's reminiscent of the comedies that we would see in the early 2000s. This film, it reminds me in the biggest way of, I don't know if you ever saw it at Johnny Knoxville. It's called The Ringer.
Oh, it sounds familiar.
So The Ringer was a film about how Johnny Knoxville and his friends needed some cash, and so they pretended to be special needs so that they could rig the Special Olympics and bet on it.
Okay.
And the best scene in the film is when he goes to the priest to ask for forgiveness. And he goes to the priest and he's like, "Father, forgive me, for I have sinned." And he's like, "Tell me what it is, my son. The Lord will forgive all transgressions and all iniquities." And he's like, "I've pretended to be special needs so I could fix the Special Olympics and cheat my way to win." And you just see this fist fly through the confession booth to knock the guy out. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is awesome.
And I'm like, oh, this movie just reminds me in every way of that film.
Well, hold on. Can you do me a favor? Can you actually pull up that? Because I think this is relevant to story. Can you pull up that story that we have later on from Disney? The Post Malone story? Because I think this perfectly illustrates the complete and total mismatch that is going on right now in the culture. So the story.
So from the Post Millennium. Disney admits wokeness has been bad for business, damaged its reputation, documents reveal. Disney announced that it finally realized they're out of step with their audiences. This had a deep impact on their profitability. In a filing with the SEC, the company referenced that they'd experienced risks relating to misalignment with public and consumer tastes. Generally, our revenues and profitability are adversely impacted when our entertainment offerings and products, as well as our methods to make our offerings and products available to consumers, do not achieve sufficient consumer acceptance. Disney said that consumers' perceptions of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation and brands. All this comes after more than a year of tumult in the company, during which the CEO and other execs were feuding with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over his parental rights and education bill. Bill prevents schools from secretly gender transitioning students and requiring sex and gender education to be age appropriate. Latest offering Snow White was tabled as the company realized that the progressive tone of the film was not going to be popular with viewers. In fact, the star of this film spoke out at length about against the traditional storytelling of the film, and the film's release date has been pushed back until they can get it back on track. The film went as far as to consult the dwarfism community over concerns that the 7 dwarfs would be seen as offensive.
Oh, that was such a crazy thing. Like,
and then the thing that they came up with was just like, are you all nuts? Like, what was the term for it? It was Snow Latina and the 7 like weird hobos or something.
Like, yeah, something ridiculous like that.
It's like, yeah, that is a more accurate description than 7 dwarfs.
It was so good. The thing though was that, okay, so here's what's going on that I found really interesting is that so Disney is imploding. Okay, have you heard about their most recent film that just came out? You know what that is, right?
Oh, the Wish.
Wish. Okay, Wish is tanking hard in the box office. It is absolutely like doing terribly.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason, because the movie is garbage. Everyone I've heard that talks about the movie says this movie is absolute trash.
Yeah.
And the problem is Disney, in this article, Disney admits, yeah, we're doing something wrong, but here's the problem.
We don't care.
They can't figure out what it is. They can't figure out what they're doing wrong. They're like, okay, people don't like the woke stuff.
Well, like,
and
it's now, I think now they're being forced to realize that, and this has been years in the making, like, I think this whole, like, anti-woke backlash has now come to a head. But
yeah.
I think you and I can both agree that the film, this whole, like, rise to peak wokeness in Disney and in, like, popular movies released by Disney was started very much so with Captain Marvel in 2018. And having Brie Larson come out and essentially just rag on men and how much white men were terrible. And then everybody was like, are you going to rein her back in? Like, are you going to... And they're like, nope. She's indicative of how the movie is. And then you watch the film and it's just like, oh, she's a hero. And it's like, if a man did any of this, he would be the villain.
Easy.
Of the film. Especially in the deleted scenes. When you watch the deleted scenes of that movie, it's like she beats up a guy for telling her to smile.
It's like the ultimate,
and strips him naked and steals his motorbike.
It's the ultimate cringe feminist fantasy. The idea of like the hyper feminists, they're man haters.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you can basically overpower a man and embarrass him and basically like mistreat him is like it makes them like almost like get all giddy. But that's what villains do. She's supposed to be a hero, but she's actually a villain. But in their weird, twisted, like, morality, it's like, oh, she's a hero because she put that man in her place. I'm like, well, you're just bullies. That's what you are. But the problem here is like Daily Wire is doing something pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah.
They are taking on a company that years ago, like 10 years ago, you tell me that Disney could be like, taken down by like a startup company. Like the biggest media company in the planet was going to be like essentially be given a run for their money by like a completely brand new company. I'm like, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Now it's like Disney can't figure out that they're burning every. They're
trying everything they can to say, oh no, it's not us, it's our haters. Like,
yes,
everybody likes the film. It's just a small group of people that hate it, and they're tanking reviews online, and that's why nobody's coming to the film. And it's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Even those who go and watch the film, they know that it's terrible because you're not appealing to a general audience. Like, I think it was Michael Knowles who was saying, or maybe it was Tim Pool, that the Disney is saying that this new Marvel's movie. They're like, oh, it's a movie made for women. It is not a movie. Superhero movies are not made for women. Superhero movies have begun to try and cater to a more kind of
an audience that doesn't exist.
To an audience that doesn't exist. Superhero movies are typically catering to men because men have the power fantasy of making the ultimate, potentially making the ultimate sacrifice, being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to be the hero.
Hey, Steven,
men want to be the hero.
Explain to me, Stephen, why the WNBA can continually can't seem to get fans.
Well, the WNBA can't be.
What's the match? What's the magic ingredient?
Well, A, it's trying to appeal to women, and women are not nearly as interested in sports as men. And then B, the WNBA and women's basketball in general has far less talented athletes.
They do,
and that's why this film is so poignant, because men could legitimately go to the WNBA. Well, I don't know if they've done it with the WNBA, but there was a player, a men's player who was, I think he was in the WHL, and he went to the Women's Hockey League, like I think it's the WNHL, and he was the lead scorer in the Eastern Conference the year that he joined.
Not surprised at all.
Because this is the difference and the domination that men have over women. Because men and women, as much as the left and as much as society refuses to admit it, men and women have different rules. And let's actually just we'll go full board. We'll switch up, and we'll move the schedule around of how we're going to present it.
It works, okay.
So this is a Daily Mail article. This is supposedly about prehistoric science. Debunking the myth of the male hunter. Prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims.
It's just science, Steven. Science.
Yep, science. If you envisage a prehistoric hunter, a vision of a caveman might spring to mind, but a new study claims that these cavemen paled in comparison to their female counterparts.
Because, of course, women are better than men.
This is my reaction. So I'm sure you've seen this meme. It's called the doubt meme.
Okay, I'm curious. The doubt meme.
It's from a popular video game that was called L.A. Noire.
Okay.
And in L.A. Noire, you play a detective, and you're interrogating people, and if you, whenever you doubt their story, you press X to doubt their story. And so it became this meme where it was just doubt X. And so that's how I feel about this. It's doubt.
Smells insanely sketch.
Total
super
BS.
Sketch.
So,
super sketch.
Quote, rather than viewing it as a way of erasing or rewriting history, our studies are trying to correct the history that erased women from it. Nobody is erasing women.
By the way, the same people, I would be willing to bet money, the same kind of people who are trying to push this kind of garbage are probably the same people that made that BBC reimagining of history that incorporated a massive amount of black people and people of every ethnic background in medieval and post Roman history.
This right here, that's total BS. The female body is not better suited to endurance activity. Men have more, long twitch muscle fibers.
Everything. Yes.
That is total BS.
I think what they're trying to claim is women can handle pain better. Pain management. Well, I'm okay, sure. That women can handle pain better, but they're I can't tell you the amount of women that I've met in my life that are have a difficult time in cold temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
They legitimately do. They're constantly cold. And I'm not saying that that's a weakness. I'm just saying it is very much a feature of female anatomy, of female genetics and bodies. Women just generally get colder outside, where men are a lot more are a lot more resilient in outdoor environments. The second part is that, and you know this, Stephen, because you have children, you have a boy and you have 3 little girls and all that. Boys are just generally more risk takers.
Oh yeah,
they on average, boys are the ones that are taking risk, and girls are the ones that are the people pleasers. They're more agreeable, which is why little girls are usually more well behaved. generally on the whole, whereas boys tend to be the ones that are like challenged because it's part of like like the difference in men and women. So hunting, believe it or not, is a high risk activity, especially in these kind of like supposed conditions, because the chances that you could come back dead by hunting a wild animal are pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Universally, men have always been the risk takers.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many things that you have to like throw in there. Like, oh, give me a break. Give me a freaking break.
Yeah. This is better psychological pacing.
Mm-hmm.
What? I've never found a single study that would say that women handle stressful situations better than men. You cannot find that.
Have you ever seen the episode? Okay, so you've heard of Survivor, right?
Yep.
Okay, you know that there's episodes, full like Survivor like series where they split the men and the women on 2 different islands, and the absolute chaos that ensued. It's because like they did this a few times, and every single time it was an absolute unmitigated disaster. The men always like came out like fairly well. And the women were like they literally broke down to basically almost starving to death, freezing to death, and like it became such a massive disaster that the show's producers had to like completely intervene to rescue the poor women who were like, pretty much.
They're like, oh,
starving.
let's even out the tribes.
Yeah, they actually put a couple men on a women's like island. And they're like, what the hell happened here? What were you guys doing this whole time? It's so hard. And then the women who actually went to the men's island, they're like,
everything is so nice.
Pretty good. Yeah. How did you do this? Like, it's pretty amazing.
Because we're naturally ingrained to do it.
This is basically like revisionism.
Revisionist history. This is actually revisionist history.
Okay, well, what did they do in this time in the White House?
Yep. So, going back to more of kind of comedic things.
Yeah.
So, from the New York Post, the national Christmas tree toppled by high winds outside the White House, perfectly summing up Joe Biden's presidency.
Is there a video? Oh, I gotta see the video.
An ill wind. Oh, is it? I don't know if it's a video of the tree actually getting knocked over. No.
It's so cool.
It's just her standing in front of the tree.
Okay, so they just kind of.
That's too bad. And then it's just pictures.
Tree topple. I want to see a tree topple.
Yeah, it doesn't have.
Dang.
Breaking news that we.
Breaking news.
Here, show the reporter. Right here.
Okay.
I want to see this.
What can you see from your vantage point?
Unfortunately, we can't see a whole lot. We did circle around the ellipse for some time, but we can see this massive crane that they brought in, and that crane is working very carefully to try to upright that
My goodness.
Christmas tree that fell. We're told the Christmas tree fell just around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Nice. Use the crane to try to like untopple Biden's presidency. Do it. I'm sure it'll work this time. Oh, there it is. Completely fallen over.
Yeah.
Dang. Like literally, they cannot do anything right.
No.
It is the most inept and pathetic presidency in human history. I think a very solid case could be made that Joe Biden is the worst president, like of the last 100 years, bar none, and that includes Jimmy Carter, who was like for the longest time considered to be the worst president.
Yeah,
and I think he can make a solid run for be like, yep, we're an absolute
absolute disaster,
dumpster fire of a president.
Yep. But speaking of dumpster fires,
let's
talk about this incident in Michigan.
That is a heck of a transition.
I know. So, Michigan boy steals, it's not a forklift, Daily Mail. Get your stuff right. It's a Zoom boom. And smashes into 10 parked cars as he leads cops on crazed chase through his hometown before he is arrested. Officers found the Zoom boom heading south through the city and gave chase at speeds between 15 and 20 miles per hour. That's pretty quick for one of those things. The driver, later identified only as a 12-year-old boy, from Ann Arbor finally stopped in the construction genie, GTH telehandler.
Telehandler, nice.
Yeah, well, they're
he
called
telehandled that thing well.
Oh, you did.
You did.
So they don't have.
Video of that,
so this is the video.
Taking them on a merry chase.
Just driving through residential areas. No problem.
I mean, I don't think I did anything this crazy when I was yeah, he's right. Not a forklift.
Yeah. I'm just like, he's weaving through traffic. I'm just surprised that he didn't have any issues, like,
We got anybody with sticks?
because he could raise it up, and that would cause some serious mayhem.
Oh, he could take down like
he could take out street lights,
everything.
like, because I know how much that thing can lift.
Oh, and he could rush into a house. He could rush into
like if he wanted to, he could take those forks. He could lift it up like in front of a car, and then just like dump it, and then just because that thing can because all four of those wheels, like it's not just it doesn't steer from the front wheels alone.
Yeah, it's not a car. Okay, all four of the wheels.
All four of the wheels can turn, so he can dump a car and then make a turn around it. And the cop car can't move nearly that quickly in terms of like reaction.
Nope. If you had skill, you could easily evade a police car.
Yeah. Like
what you could do, you could literally take a parked car, like literally crash it in front of the police car and block the road and be like, "Well, I'm off." And the police car's like, what do we do? Like, what do you got? What do you got, man? Yeah, I think that boy definitely played too much.
A little too much GTA. Well, but like as I was saying to Danny before the show started, like these things, telehandlers or zoom booms, I'm surprised this does not happen more frequently. The reason for that is that telehandlers or zoom booms all have the exact same key.
Yep.
And so as somebody who's like, I was a zoom boom operator about a year ago now, I was the official zoom boom operator on our site. And I had 4 of those keys in my van at pretty much all times. And you can just take one and go to any of the zoom booms on site, turn the key, and drive off with it. And as long as you had high vis and a hard hat, nobody would look at you. Because it would be totally within the norm. So, yes, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more frequently. And I'm glad that this boy was completely unskilled with the zoom boom so that he did not cause a whole lot of chaos.
Do you know what this made me think of, Steven? You know, the first thing I thought of when I saw this story is what's his name? Marvin Heemeyer.
Oh, what is it?
Killdozer.
The Killdozer, yeah.
Killdozer. You remember that Killdozer,
Oh, of course
right?
I do.
The Killdozer, if you guys haven't heard of it, the Killdozer is one of the most iconic like stories I've ever heard in American history. A guy basically created a beast. He took a bulldozer and I think it took months, basically turning this thing into like the most impenetrable tank ever created. And he basically went on a complete he went on a rampage. He like tore down buildings, he tore down everything. And the problem is, like, nobody could stop him. Like, police were like,
oh my gosh,
what the heck do we do?
Hokey Dinah. So I have something to take back.
Oh.
So the Panthers did not win.
Who are the Panthers? The Florida Panthers?
Florida Panthers, they lost.
Do you mean the hockey team?
Yes. They lost.
Okay. So why is that a big deal?
The goal got overturned, and the Leafs won.
Oh, you're talking about your hockey. Oh, okay, I got you.
They won.
I didn't realize Toronto was playing against
I can't, my buddy texted me, and I was like, why are you texting me this? And he's like, I've never seen something like this before. And I'm like, what? And then and then I just got like this notification. It was like, Leafs win and surprise, like crazy overturn. I'm like, what? They won? And I'm like, okay.
You're going to have fun watching the highlights out tonight.
Well, I'm not going to. It won't be the highlights. It'll just be like, there'll be video of like, oh, this shootout goal got overturned.
Yeah, just go to Sportsnet, watch the very last segment, which is the shootout.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see it. Because they usually cover it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll cover it because they had to go back and replay. Because apparently it had to. Well, because it was revealed on that he double tapped it,
Oh,
which you can't do in a shootout.
Boy. That bad boy. You can't be
And
doing that.
I had turned it off because I was like, oh, they won. And then when they actually reviewed it, it was like, oh no, he double tapped it, so he cheated. And it was like, oh,
okay, a little hint for the wise here. Double tap only works in Zombieland. That's the only time double tap works. Not in hockey. Don't do it in hockey.
No hockey.
But speaking of somebody that should definitely have not double tapped, let's talk about Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor. Well, I'm glad he did double tap.
Yeah, me too. But
the
I'm like,
Irish government, not so much. So
yeah, the Irish government.
The Irish Times. Conor McGregor. Social media posts on Dublin riots being examined by Gardaí.
Oh, that's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to scroll down and you can do some reading. I'm just going to sort this out.
What's going on?
Oh, just children.
The kids are being crazy. All right.
Oh, looks like they got the message and went into the rooms.
Oh, good.
I don't have to be bad dad.
Oh, bad dad. You got to get the handle on your children.
I know.
Your
Statements
little
by
lad-
mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor about last Thursday's stabbing in Dublin and subsequent street violence are amongst a rage of social media posts being examined by Gardaí investigating last week's riots.
Oh, it's absolutely disgraceful.
Investigators are examining social media posts from various accounts to determine if they may have incited violence.
Oh, just
McGregor posted several comments on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. There were widely read and attractive positive comments from ex-owner Elon Musk. McGregor criticised government policy on immigration and law and order, declared Ireland, "We are at war."
Oh, he said the magical word.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that's going to get them in all sorts of trouble.
I'm going to continue this because otherwise it's going to be really slow. In a later post, he said he did not condone the riots, but I do understand frustrations, and I do understand a move that must be made to ensure the change we need is ushered in. Irish Times had sought comment from McGregor about his statements last week. Far-right figures who helped organize gatherings in the city center also being investigated by Gardaí. Several have since deleted social media posts potentially tying them to the riots. Social media posts surrounding last Thursday's events are also being examined by the state's recently established media commission. Hoimasian Naman. I have no idea how that's pronounced, but I'm guessing. Commission last Friday met representatives from social media platforms Meta, X, TikTok, and Google after the watchdog raised concerns after some of the extremist content that had been posted online. The European Commission was also represented at the meetings. So, just lovely. But, from modernity, Elon Musk warns the Irish that they could be arrested for having a meme on their phone.
This was crazy. I knew that they were going to do something bad, but not this bad.
So new laws were introduced in response to the Dublin riots, with authorities keen to punish people who were angry over an Algerian migrant stabbing 3 children in broad daylight. Law creates a new crime of inciting violence or hatred against persons by possessing material which offends the protected characteristics of an individual or group. So this is the actual text of a bill in Ireland the government is trying to pass. They will literally jail you for having memes saved on phones. Musk responded to the controversy by posting on X, language being proposed as law in Ireland means this could literally happen to you for having a meme on your phone. It's accompanied by a video of SWAT team smashing down a door and invading someone's house. People don't realize how extreme Ireland's hate speech bill is, warned Robert Burke. Up to 12 months in prison for refusing to give password to your devices if suspected of committing hate speech. 12 months for refusing to allow the state to read messages between you and your spouse. It's authoritarian. No kidding. I mean, it's absolutely lunacy.
You know what the crime that they're really accusing Conor McGregor and all these people are doing? The crime of noticing. I heard somebody say that, and I'm like, that is actually very accurate. Because if you act like it's like. Obviously, like the government is basically responsible for everything that's going on, all the chaos, all the criminality, all of the homelessness, everything, all the problems that are happening are their fault. But the biggest wrong, the biggest crime you can make entirely in this whole thing is noticing. It's like you're the only one who actually said the thing. Imagine if you're all watching. As a rabid like raccoon, like literally like breaks through the window and it just goes into your house and goes nuts and starts like attacking the pets and attacking the children and all that. But like the second you point out like maybe we should do something about that rabid raccoon. Whoa!
Going too
what
far,
the heck?
man. Going too far.
Too far. Whoa! What are you like? You hate raccoons? What are you, an animal like hater or something like that? What's wrong with you? Like, it
Crazy
sounds
bigot.
absurd, but that is exactly what they're doing.
Mhm.
They're like, well, we created the problem, but how dare you actually talk about it? How dare
Mhm.
you
How
even
dare you
mention?
expose it to the world?
How dare you even imply that this is a problem? How could you?
Well, it was like
It's like-
I think we covered this on this show a few weeks ago about what happened in the UK about a man that was arrested, and all he did was make a social media video
about
saying
the flags,
about the flags,
flags,
the Palestinian
yeah.
flags that were on public poles, and he's like, "Well,
Yeah.
like this is shameful."
The crime
Like-
of noticing. How dare
Yeah.
you notice?
And he's like, "This is not British values. Like this is what we stand for." And the police showed up,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, this is like inciting hatred against protected class." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Like that's totally ludicrous."
What you talking about, you honker? You
Yeah,
don't know.
you
You don't
honker.
know anything you're saying.
That'll be a
The
funny
funny
term
thing
that we use to describe people.
Oh, yeah,
You honker.
you honker. Yeah, crazy honker. No, there's a guy I love to follow, Billboard Chris, who's like one of the few people in Canada that I'm really proud of. He shared something because he was in Ireland, and he was like by the Disney store in Ireland, or like on a, and he shared his video because there's a police officer that literally came and confronted him based on a completely made up, it just sounds like ludicrous. Like somebody called me like, oh yeah, he went into like the Disney store and he was being like a jerk. It's like, we had calls that you went into the Disney store. I'm like, well, I didn't. It's like, well, yeah, but we don't want you to go in there. It's like, I'm not planning to. It's like, okay, but just don't want you to go in there. By the way, what are you doing? It's like, I'm talking to people. Well, if you cause offense, that's against the law. It's like, well, like I can't help if people get offended. Like, like it's like he's had the whole conversation. The guy's like, well, you just behave yourself, you little squirrely rascal. Like it was so stupid. Like the police are literally bending over backwards trying to like make sense of a nonsensical idea. Here's basically what they were trying to justify. If something you say or something that you have with you is, if somebody takes offense to that, that's a crime. It's like that literally opens it up to like anything can be a crime. Oh, you didn't pronounce the name of our town the proper way. That's a crime. You're going to jail. Off to the jail with you. It's like the absurdity of these laws is it's so nasty. But yet the people in charge are all these are evil people. Like it's not even difficult to say, and not you don't even have to be like what do you call it, hyperbolic. The Irish government is evil. Everyone in that government, everyone who's like voting for these laws, they are evil people. They are evil people who are like creating an illegitimate government because they are basically punishing their people for wrongthink. These are tyrants and and bullies. They're not legitimate people. They're not there for their own people. And Conor McGregor is amazing because he's actually standing up for the rights of his own citizens, which is, you would think, crazy idea. Call me Mr. Traditional here, but you would think that a government would actually be fighting or at least working for the needs and the desires of their own people. No. Their own people. They hate their own people. And they basically want to punish their own people. How dare you, get angry when we step on your throat? It's like, it's mind blowing, Stephen. Mind blowing.
Restricting freedoms for all the right reasons. Yes.
It's for the greater good. The greater good.
I knew you'd pull that one out.
Name that film. Name the film.
Hot Fuzz.
Oh, dude, come on. That was a trivia question.
Oh, well, sorry for those in the chat.
They could have won the prize.
What prize?
I don't know. What my undying acclaim and adulation.
Yeah, that's virtually meaningless.
All right. Well, let's talk about somebody who does not deserve my.
Oh no, definitely not. So,
Definitely
from the APA, classifying pedophilia as a sexual orientation was an error.
Whoopsie. That was a big whoopsie.
Just a little oopsie.
tiny bit of a whoopsie.
So after a national backlash from social conservatives, the American Psychiatric Association has dropped its designation of pedophilia as a sexual orientation.
Listen to the rationale. Listen to the rationale why they dropped it.
Oh my goodness.
I want you to
In May, the APA released the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. In this document, the first new edition in 10 years, the APA described pedophilia as a sexual orientation. The classification went largely unnoticed until last month when the Neon Tommy blog of the Annenberg Digital News at the University of Southern California published a blog post critical of the terminology. Social conservatives said calling pedophilia an orientation was a step towards normalizing pedophiliac behavior. Of course it was. Yes. Within days, the APA changed the classification, noting in a press release, sexual orientation is not a term used in the diagnostic criteria for pedophilic disorder, and its use in the DSM-5 text discussion is an error and should read sexual interest.
Yeah, listen to this. Here.
They said the unwelcome attention from conservative Christians helped them turn out a more precise and accurate guide. In using the term sexual orientation, APA did not intend for it to be construed in the legal sense, as in the protected status under Title IV and other legislation, but we learned that some may construe it that way. A spokesperson who was asked to remain anonymous told LifeSiteNews.com, therefore we changed the word to interest, so that it would be clear that APA is speaking in medical terms and not commenting on legal status.
Oh, yeah. By the way, this is, again, the crime of noticing. It's like, we would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those darn Christians. Those pesky Christians, and they're moralizing about pedophilia. How could you?
How dare they notice?
Would have totally gotten away with it. Darn you Christians and your evil.
Ridiculous.
Like it's like they have the nerve to call it an error and be like, oh, well, we changed it because of those pesky Christians and them noticing that we're trying to, implying that we're trying to do something that we're not. You guys, yeah. We believe you, don't you worry.
We believe you. Sure, we believe
you. You see that without winking? Sure, I can totally do that.
I really have to hold my eyes open.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness.
Like, it's an all-out assault. Like, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're like, let's sneak it in and see if anybody notices. Well, people noticed.
Mm-hmm. They noticed.
Rightfully pissed. But speaking of noticing, the UN has...
They prove how garbage they are.
Yeah, they prove how garbage they are for noticing the wrong things.
From the UN. Britain faces UN backlash after lobbying by... Blacklist. Oh my gosh.
We got blacklisted, yeah.
After lobbying by trans rights groups, the UK's human rights body could be stripped of status after campaigners, including Stonewall, successfully pushed for a special review. Could be blacklisted the UN human rights body over its defense of biological sex. Ooh, so terrible.
Yeah. How dare they? How dare you?
So the UK's Equalities and Human Rights Commission is facing a special review of its international accreditation after lobbying by trans groups led by Stonewall, the controversial LGBTQ charity. Review could leave the HRC stripped of its so-called A status, which means it could no longer have a place at the table of UN Human Rights Council and other UN bodies, which it's terrible that that's what gives someone A status, is that it's basically lobbying from the LGBTQ. In the latest row to involve the UK and the UN after the International Body's Commission for Refugees said the government's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda did not comply with its obligations under international law. Now the ability of the UK to take part in the UN discussions on human rights is under threat from a review by the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. It's an independent body whose accreditation grants access to the UN. The inquiry was launched after the EHRC gave advice to ministers that suggesting that changing the law to define sex as biological sex would bring clarity to contentious issues such as the provision of single-sex spaces. Baroness Faulkner of Margravine, the Watchdog's chairman, has revealed. Lady Faulkner said she was disappointed that the EHRC was being investigated following targeted action by a group of campaign organizations.
Yeah, by the way, it's wrong speak, wrong think, and also blasphemy. You're not in any way allowed.
Facts.
You are not in any way allowed to criticize, question, or dissent with the accepted narrative on gender identity or sexual orientation. You can't. Like, just try it. Like, I've actually wanted to ask this before. Like, I just haven't had a chance to. But the question I want to ask anyone from anyone who claims to be part of the LGBT community, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
tell me exactly what is an acceptable way to criticize, question, or dissent from the from gender ideology, or from from gay ideology. Give me one possible way to criticize it that would be acceptable in your view, and it can't, because I think it was what's his name, Matt Walsh asked that in a question period. Give what would be an acceptable way to question or criticize, or to question or critique the LGBT views, and the person was like, what? Like they literally couldn't fathom the question. The question was, is there an acceptable way to criticize? Because they always say well, the way you're criticizing the LGBT community is is bad. It's like, okay, what's an acceptable way of doing so? And they're like, because they were short circuiting, because they didn't realize the implication. But the implication is there is no acceptable way in any way to criticize, question, or dissent from LGBT ideology, because it's sacred in the view of the people in power. Therefore, it cannot be questioned. Therefore, homophobia and transphobia are terms that are they're basically repackaged blasphemy laws. That's what they are. And so here we're seeing the UK basically did the wrong of questioning, criticizing, or dissenting from gender ideology, and so they have to be punished because they've committed blasphemy, the most horrible crime that you can commit in our modern day power institutions. And so that's what they're being punished.
Yep. But
speaking of somebody being punished
for blasphemy, Tommy Robinson. So, arrested for peacefully covering pro-Israel rally journalistically. The free episode of the Ezra. Yeah. So, rally drew pro-Hamas hate marchers and a heavy police presence which closed off central London to vehicle traffic. Obviously, they did not want a terrorist attack or even a non-violent altercation with the pro-Hamas forces, which we have seen hundreds of thousands of in recent weeks.
By the way, hate is a new modern term, or the new term for racism.
Yes.
It's basically, it's like racism is thrown as an accusation, not as a description. Same with hate. They never specify what was the hateful action. No, it was just hate. Like all of it. It's like that scene from do you know that scene from How to Train a Dragon, where he's like we just got to figure out a way to fix this. It's like, you just gestured to all of me. Exactly. That's basically what hate is.
Yep.
It's like it gestures to everything.
So let's watch this arrest. So he was apparently given warnings by the police, who informed him that his presence could cause alarm and distress, and that he might face arrest for attempting to report on the situation.
It's about safety, Stephen.
It's about safety. So let's watch him being arrested for asking questions.
Are you trying to endanger my family? Don't be so stupid then. Get a break. You're asking me to give my address on all these cameras.
You're creating a problem.
You're purposely doing that as well. I know what you're doing. Yes, you are.
So you dispersed from the area, City of London, Royal Branch
no freedom of the press. Do you believe in freedom of the press?
Camden, as far as Houston, but not including Houston Street. My direction is now leave immediately.
Okay, can I reply to that quickly?
This notice is now for 24 hours. So you must leave the locality.
Officer, can I reply to that, please?
You need to go right down King Street to the way of Haybourne train station. And the grounds of this is your presence is likely to cause harassment, alarm and distress to attendees at the march.
Okay,
I'm going to now listen.
Go on. Reply? This was the Metropolitan Police Force yesterday. The right of the press to freely report and protest is no less important than the right to the protest itself. They should be able to do so without facing intimidation and aggression, officer. Yeah? Officers spoke with a journalist and her team following the incident. I'm a member of the press. I'm at work. Yeah? I'm not. Is anyone here caused alarm and distress by my presence here? No. Ladies, everyone's Jewish here. There's no one who's caused alarm and distress. No one has come up to you and said anything about me. You are working under the orders of Sadiq Khan and Mark Rowley. Mark Rowley is an apologist for Hamas. They're apologists for jihad. And the British public are fed up with your two-tiered policing.
Refuse your address, but I understand why.
Officer, I'm here to do my job.
So you're just doing your job. I heard that.
19.
I'm a journalist, the same as you. I'm here to do my job.
Saying I'm only doing my job.
I don't put a pro-Hamas slant on like you lot. Yeah, I'm just here to do my job. That's my cameraman. I'm at work. Do you think a
Yeah, this is unfortunately very common. Like the UK is like we've seen other locations within the former Confederation and like over the former kind of reign of Imperial Britain.
Yeah.
Canada is slowly becoming as bad as they are. They're a few years ahead of us.
We had a picture of that during COVID. Because the police during COVID became basically enforcers and like that. There's a reason why I very much agree with Pastor Arthur Pawlowski when he called the Gestapo.
Yeah.
They called the cops that came into it because they were police officers in name only, but in practice they're basically acting very, very similar to Gestapo officers because they're not enforcing the law of Canada. They're enforcing the will of the tyrannical government at play. You know, that whole incident there, Stephen, because I think like there was another video that came out recently too, where Tommy Robinson was in what was he? Was he in a cafe or a restaurant? He was in a restaurant, and the restaurant owner or somebody from the restaurant came up to him and said like, "You have to leave." It's like, what do you mean when I have to leave? It's like, yeah, you have to leave. It's like, why? It's like, well, and they gave this BS excuse, but it was obvious like they wanted him to leave because he's Tommy Robinson, and we don't tolerate your kind in here, basically, right? That's basically what the unspoken message was, right? But when he said like, okay, well, give me my money back because like like I came here, I came here to pay for this meal, and you're kicking me out. I'm like, well, I should give my money back. Like, nope, you don't get that either. You just got to leave. And I'm just like these people are evil. And they're bullies, and they claim to be like the moral arbiters of like good and evil or something like that, right? But they're not. Now, the one thing that really kind of makes me think in this situation is, okay, you watch that scene there with Tommy Robinson. I'm not sure if screen there, Steven. I don't know if can you put that okay, put that thing on Tommy Robinson. Just put it on the screen. I want to show you something.
Or the
okay, just the screenshot, okay, of Tommy Robinson and all that. Okay, you know what I picture here? The police keep pushing. They keep pushing the envelope. They keep pushing people and pushing people and pushing people. Eventually, as much as I hate it, like I know that eventually they're going to get to a point where we're going to get the same kind of reaction that you got in like the V for Vendetta, like that famous scene. Where you have that, okay, what do they call it? The trigger man or the like the special police that they had in that movie? Fingerman. Okay, it's Fingerman. So he was a fingerman, which is basically like a specialized police. And normally when they say like I'm a fingerman, everyone's like, whoa, touch you or something like that. But people have finally had enough. They had finally gotten fed up. The police were not in any way going to like they're not there for them. They're basically nothing more than thugs for like the new mafia, right? And here's the thing: I think Tim Pool said it really well. Is that the police have to rely on the public's cooperation. They have to, because the only authority that they derive is the authority that they're given. They have to. So if people don't consider them legitimate and their authority legitimate, then they can't force thousands of people to comply. They have to rely on the goodwill of the public. So the second the public starts saying like, you know what, you guys are garbage. We don't care who you are. We don't care where you come from. We don't recognize your authority. And then eventually people will basically start to push back and rebel. Like they're relying on the goodwill of the public. Okay. The public basically puts up with the police because they basically accept that the social order is maintained and the social order benefits them, right? They comply because they believe, okay, the police, the courts, all these kind of things, they're basically for our good. When people basically lose faith in the courts, they believe that the courts are totally like corrupt. When they lose faith in the politicians and when they lose faith in the police, then they're not going to comply anymore. And that's where we're headed. The UK police, they're The only reason people in that place are not like going after them is because there's a modicum of like trust, or at least like of acceptance of the police. When people basically believe that the police are nothing more than just thugs and people that are not there for their own good, like they're gonna turn on the police, and the police, good luck, because you like, how many police officers did you count in that encounter, Stephen? Like at least
5,
4, maybe 5, or like something like that, right? Surrounded by thousands of people.
Yeah.
Imagine when the public finally had enough. Those police officers, good luck. It's like that. Do you remember that scene in Australia when during COVID, when there's like a giant crowd of people and they just started stampeding, and the police basically tried to pepper spray them, but they basically started like trampling over the they're going.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like might happen, because I think that's what's going to happen.
Eventually, people are going to be fed up.
Yeah,
and eventually they're going to take actions.
Yeah.
So we'll see where things go.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that wasn't the only kind of Israeli news or Israel-related news of the weekend. On sometime in the weekend, it was. So this is a post from today. But Netanyahu welcomes Elon Musk in Israeli town struck by Hamas attacks. During the visit, Musk received detailed briefings from local leaders and a military spokesperson about the events that occurred in the community. He visited the residence of the community's late security head, who lost his life in a confrontation during the attack. So, all of these things, like, Musk has been barely...
They tried to label him as an anti-Semite.
Yeah, they tried that. Like, it was an interesting post that he had said, but it was kind of like that one was the outlier, and all his other posts and everything else that he has done to support has been very pro-Israel. So it was like, well, this seems like something that was kind of potentially posted on accident, or like something where he didn't fully realize the gravity of what he was saying. And then in every other public appearance, it's like, oh yeah, no, we're banning the phrase like "from the river to the sea" on Twitter. We're banning like calls for Antifada or other, like, all these things. So from everything that I've seen, Elon is certainly no anti-Semite.
Not even close.
So just some small things that the media should be called out on.
Isn't it funny too that they try to they try to suggest that Trump is also anti-Semitic? Like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like, serious right now? Like, Netanyahu loved Trump. Like, he was best with him. Good luck.
Yeah.
We can accusation the sticks, boy.
Yeah.
All right. So who do we got next?
We got Derek Chauvin.
Derek
Chauvin. So,
yeah.
Few of you might remember the name Derek Chauvin from a couple years ago. He was, according to People's Magazine, he was George Floyd killer. So apparently he's in stable condition and expected to survive after a prison stabbing attack. So the former Minneapolis cop who was convicted of murdering George Floyd was stabbed in an Arizona prison on Friday. So he's expected to survive. Now, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara and the spokesperson for State Attorney General Keith Ellison office tell people in statements that Chauvin is on the mend, citing his agency's federal law enforcement partners. O'Hara said that the Chauvin was in stable condition. Brian Evans, an Ellison spokesperson, meanwhile, said the Attorney General's office heard that Chauvin is expected to survive. So this is, it's a medium security outfit, but has been low staffed, causing a lack of security. So it confirmed an unnamed inmate at the Tucson facility was attacked around 12:30 p.m. on Friday. No employees were injured during the incident. The incarcerated individual was transported by EMS to a local hospital for further treatment and evaluation.
Yeah.
So this was bound to happen.
It's a travesty.
I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier, actually. Based on everything because Chauvin was made into... He was transformed into the big...
boogeyman.
Oh, what was that? He was basically the modern-day Bull... He was made into the modern-day Bull O'Connor. He was the embodiment of so-called police racism, even though clearly none of his actions were based on racism. And he was following the Minneapolis Police Officers Patrolman's Guide. Mm-hmm. And the official report of George Floyd's death was that he died of cardiac arrest, which is pretty hard to die of cardiac arrest from a mild compression to the back of his shoulder. So I wonder how he could have had a cardiac arrest. I don't know.
By the way, did you? I don't know if you did. I know I did, and I was like, I found it really interesting. So, on Louder Crowder during the whole court case, like when they were doing it, they actually did a live actual in person in studio test of that thing that they did with Derek Chauvin. Okay. They had somebody from a police department that came into the studio, and they basically followed the exact procedure and looked at the video and be like, this is exactly what he did. And he did it to Steven Crowder, and he did it to several guys in the studio. Yeah. They basically followed the procedure to a T, followed it exactly. And the question was, every single one of the guys was asked, how was it? Were you struggling to breathe? Were you were you did you feel you were this close to passing out? All of them were like, no, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't I wasn't even close to anything even remote.
Well, of course, anybody who actually knows about this situation knows that the only reason that they said he died of asphyxiation-related incidents was that because the most common phrase associated with the George Floyd riots was, quote unquote, I can't breathe. But when you look at the full footage, of course, he was saying that when he was in a window with a car with an open window.
Yep.
And so he clearly had no issue with breathing. His entire issue was that he was hopped up on a whole bunch of serious drugs. And from the coroner's report, he had enough fentanyl and meth in his system to kill a horse. I believe he actually had enough to kill a horse twice over.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Just on that note, I just typed in George Floyd overdose new evidence, and guess every single article that's coming out is here, AP News. George Floyd's autopsy report is not new. Does not say he died of an overdose.
Yeah.
Political. Nope. The deposition transcript doesn't prove George Floyd died of an overdose. MSN. Oh no, doesn't prove anything. Factcheck.org. Nope. Cause of death doesn't change anything. If you notice that Google gives you these kind of results and they're pushing this so hard, you're like, yeah, this is insanely suspect. You learn these things. It's when the media pushes so hard to be like, don't worry, we'll do the thinking for you. Don't look into this. Don't do your own research. Don't examine it yourself. We will think for you, because misinformation, which is the new tactic that they're using nowadays, it's the public is too stupid to understand these things. You need someone to explain it to you and to tell you what to think. So don't even try to do your own research. What's your position, Stephen, on Derek Chauvin? What's your basic gut instinct? Do you think that he is and I'm talking in a very general sense. Do you think that he deserved to get the punishment that he got based on what he? No. Do you think that he deserves some punishment?
I think that he probably for what and the only reason I say this is because he probably, and this is also in connection with because there were 5 officers on scene.
Yeah.
They should have done a better job of crowd control so that they could get the ambulance on scene faster.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I fault them for. Because they were letting the crowd get riled up, and they're what they should have done is be you have to leave the area right now. You can film from a distance, but we need to be able to have access because this man is undergoing a medical emergency, and we need to have the ambulance pick him up. Otherwise, he could die because he seems to be having not just an anxiety attack, but he seems to be having, like, he had a lot of the signs of having a very serious medical episode.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from Derek Chauvin, they were just kind of like conversing with the crowd and being like, hey, like, don't do that. It's like, well, no, this is when you get serious. Like, you have to tell them to go away.
This guy's the political fall guy.
Yes, he was.
He's a sacrificial lamb.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important for them to maintain the narrative of George Floyd, the saint, the martyr of the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like that it doesn't matter how many doesn't even matter how much evidence comes. This guy will always be the sacrificial lamb, and they have to keep him in jail, and they have to keep him silent because they can't afford for someone to actually basically prove that this guy was railroaded on a completely fraudulent thing.
Even if there was a serious effort to overturn his conviction and potentially have him be set free, I would have a fairly good notion that the Department of the Bureau of Prisons,
the powers that be will find some way to get rid of him.
Oh, they would have several stabbings to the point where he would not come back. Like, if he was to be brought back into the public, he would need to have full-time security. Because there would be attempts on his life, I would say daily to weekly.
Yeah. He's the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to stay guilty because it's kind of like that. Did you ever watch that culture war episode between Chen Koiger and Tim Pool?
Bits and pieces.
Okay, Chen Koiger got super offended and angry and agitated when Tim Pool was like trying to talk about the facts of the case, and he just lost it because this thing is the secret cow to them. It's like you cannot even question that George Floyd died because of racism, and you cannot even it's unthinkable for you to even attempt to try to suggest that Chauvin was railroaded. That is so sacred to them that they can't even fathom the idea. So they just like freak out and go crazy when you mention it. Here's what I think should have happened to Chauvin. I think Chauvin, there should have been a full police review. I think that the worst punishment he should have maybe gotten fired from the police department, and basically not be allowed to be a police officer again. Maybe at that point, and they should have reevaluated their policies and changed them to the point where they actually say okay, well, this training is bad, so we're going to change that. That would have actually been, in a just world, that would have been probably an appropriate punishment for Chauvin at the worst, and maybe the worst criminal charge might be either negligent homicide or manslaughter at best, if that. But the fact that George Floyd had so many drugs in his system makes the entire thing just absolutely suspect as hell. It is brutal. So yeah, I don't know. I think this guy is an absolute. It's horrible what they've done to him. He's basically proof that the American system of justice doesn't exist.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's completely skewed. As long as if the media controls the justice system almost as much as the courts do. Like if the media can paint you out to be a villain, then it was actually a very big surprise to me that the Kyle Rittenhouse trial ended up the way it did. Simply,
I think that was the only reason, is because the evidence was so.
It was so overwhelming, and the judge actually did the judge took significant steps to hide the identities of the jury.
Yeah.
Whereas in the George Floyd trial, they did not do nearly as much, and in that trial, the jury members' families, the jury knew, and they admitted this after the trial, the jury knew that their families would essentially be at risk if they did not pass down a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
And so, that, I am so surprised. Well, if there was actually law and order in Minnesota, they would have overturned this conviction ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because that trial was a sham.
It was a kangaroo court.
Yeah. But speaking of kangaroo stuff.
Yeah. Kangaroo stuff. Speaking of false narratives.
False narratives, yes. Yeah, kangaroo court. I'm like, is that really a kangaroo court when to talk about? But Sports Illustrated is accused of publishing articles written by AI and then attributing them to reporters who don't exist. The mistake is trying to hide it.
Yeah, yeah.
Computer-generated writers writing computer-generated stories.
Oh yeah, that was the crazy part about it. That's what made this story crazy.
So
not that it was AI writing the articles.
So. I'm just going to skip down to this part. Sports Illustrated now run as a website with a once monthly publication by the Arena Group. At one time was a weekly in the Time Inc. stable of magazines known for its sterling writing. Its ambitions were grand, said Jess Jarvis, author of Magazine, a book he describes as an elegy for the industry. On Monday, the Futurism website reported that Sports Illustrated used Story for the product reviews that had authors it could not identify. Futurism found a picture of the one author listed, Drew Ortiz, on a website that sells AI-generated portraits. The author profile said that Drew has spent much of his life outdoors and excited to guide you through this never-ending list of his best products that keep you from falling to the perils of nature. Upon questioning Sports Illustrated, Futurism said all the authors with AI-generated portraits disappeared from the website. No explanation was offered. Futurism quoted an unnamed person of the magazine who said artificial intelligence was used in the creation of some content as well, no matter how much they say it is not.
Maybe can you go to like the actual just maybe go to the article from right from Monday. It actually has to with Futurism. You can actually you'll see the actual picture.
So this is the person. This is they claim that this was a real person.
Mm-hmm.
This is an AI-generated image of a person, and his entire quote-unquote existence was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote quite a few articles, and this is sort of funny. The AI author's writing often sounds like it was written by an alien. One Ortiz article, for instance, warns that volleyball can be a little tricky to get into, especially without an actual ball to practice with. Because you're not real.
Mm-hmm.
So... this is just, it's funny.
It shows that, okay, so what they're trying to do is the new thing right now is that people, lots of people have realized that you can get AI to write articles especially for generic things. If you have like a hockey, like the Leafs and the Florida Panthers, okay?
Yep.
Every time you write an article, like explaining what happened in the game, you're basically doing the same things, just in a different way with different details. You're like, oh yeah, they played today. The Leafs had a good run, but they just they pulled it out at the very end. It was a high scoring game. Like this guy did really well. All of that stuff. If you plug it into AI, the AI can write generic things like that. They could write the generic details of something, because there are patterns and parallels in every hockey, in every sports story. Okay. The problem is that they're trying to pretend like they're still legitimately they're still a legitimate company writing real stories, and trying to hide the fact that they're using AI. And the problem is that they got busted. Lots of places, I think lots of publications have said, yeah, we're going to start using AI to report the news, because AI can do that. AI can legitimately do that. You give it the prompts, give it the information that you want it to do, and then do it for you. So it's cheaper than paying people to just kind of write generic content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is gonna start coming out a lot more, Steven?
Oh yeah, AI generated content. Well, there was actually became prominent. There was a video released this week, or at least I think it was either this week or late last week, about the AI version, and it was written, produced, and all the music was done through AI. And it was supposed to be this AI rendition of what would be a kind of a hit folk song.
Mm-hmm.
And this song, it's, as far as I know, this song is singing about the mundane nature of human existence. I'm like, that's something a little creepy for an AI to write about.
Mm-hmm.
And sing about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, writing about how your life lacks fulfillment is a fairly common thing for humans to write about, but to have a robot write about how human lives are not fulfilling is a little like, ooh, this is quite meta. What are you going to do to us?
I don't think it's going to be very long before like AI figures it out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever,
before we have a real AI?
Yeah, did you ever read Archie comics, Steven?
Yes, not frequently, but I did.
No. Okay, but you're familiar. Okay, there was a common story, and they did it several times in different iterations, but it always had the same idea. Dilton, who was like the smart kid, like the super brainy guy in the group, he basically they basically made fun of him, saying oh, look, you're just a math head, or like a brainiac, and so he basically took his his knowledge, and he basically broke down the songs, because the whole idea of the Archie is they had a band and they would play popular music. Hilton basically analyzed a ton of music from every kind of major band and artist. He broke down the elements, and he was basically able to manufacture hit song after hit song after hit song, because he was able to analyze everything and break down the pieces and come up with an incredible new algorithm that would create hit songs. And of course the gang was like, we're sorry, we didn't realize that you were actually really good at this, and that's basically the story. What they're describing is basically Dilton in that fictional story is what AI is today. The AI just has to figure out what are the elements that make that make hit songs, put all these ingredients together, and it'll eventually be able to figure out what makes a good movie, or what makes a good song. And eventually, top number one hits, you'll suddenly get an amazing smash hit that will come out of nowhere, and everyone will be like, oh, this is amazing, and 2 weeks later you'll be like, oh, that created that song. And people will be like, what? And be like, yep, because the AI's going to be able to do it better. So it's funny that Archie comics were actually following that idea long before it became popular.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we do need to move on. We're at an hour and 30 minutes in, and I want to hopefully be in bed at a reasonable time this week, at least once. So, a little bit of a pop culture story to add on to that. NFL media outlets falsely accused young Chiefs fan of wearing blackface. Few media outlets that cover the NFL, such as Deadspin, falsely accused a young KC Chiefs fan of wearing blackface, a vile act, while at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday to watch his team defeat the Las Vegas Raiders. I used to like the Raiders, but
did you?
Well, the Las Vegas Raiders used to be the Oakland Raiders, and I still like their logo quite a bit. But they were usually representative of kind of the most criminal element of the NFL, being from Oakland. So the CBS broadcast momentarily displayed the young fan wearing Native American headdresses, but caught him from an angle that only showed the right side of his face, which was painted black. Instead of investigating further, some sports media outlets ran with the story going viral on X that have yet to retract despite new information. The left side of the child's face was painted red, clearly repping Chiefs colors, a common practice amongst fans of any NFL team. So this is the picture, or these are the pictures, that he was only shown from the one side that was only showing his his face painted black. And they only showed this side. And then there was another article by, I think this was, Deadspin. They need to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface.
Yep. This is the big article, because this is the article that just came out, they came straight out and said, yep, this kid is racist, and we need to we need to cancel him for being racist.
So it's egregious how much they're slamming a child. Because he's 5. They're attributing racism to a 5-year-old.
It's basically a costume.
Yeah, it's a costume. Well, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
and he's wearing the Chiefs color.
Yeah, he's
wearing the Chiefs color.
Yeah. Like, black is not as much of a Chief. Like, it's
part of their color. Like,
it is one of their colors.
Look at this thing on his jersey. Okay, Kansas City, red color and black on the outline. Look at the logo on the kid, like that the big logo with the headdress. Look at that little that necklace that he's wearing.
Yeah,
that's KC, like in red, and surrounded by like basically an arrowhead. But that's basically that's basically the colors. Like, yeah, it's not like the primary color.
I think it's the alternate jerseys that are the black and red.
It's kind of like like every team has like all colors. They have like red, they have yellow,
I think it used to be their primary colors.
Yeah, see, they changed it now to white.
Yeah,
on that logo.
Mm-hmm. So it's their logo on their like the white and the red.
Yeah.
Like, most people would attribute white and red to be Kansas City Chiefs colors, but black and red, like it's still clearly, as he's wearing a whole bunch of Kansas City Chiefs memorabilia.
Yep.
Like, this would be akin to calling everybody in the stadium or the team formerly known as the Cleveland Indians when they would do the chop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's so racist to do the chop. No, it's not.
This is like basically
a sports team.
This is racism farming.
Yes.
It's what it is. That's what it is. It's they're looking for racism where no racism exists. Yep. Imagine like somebody actually, because the guy who was who wrote the story, he was being criticized on Twitter. Rightly. He was actually like, people were like, somebody actually said the comment. I love that. It's like, if somebody was wearing like, had their face painted blue for like the Indianapolis Colts, would you basically be accusing them of like, Smurf racism? Like, basically, like, it's like they just happen to have one color that is associated, like, with a
innocent child guilty of Colts face.
Like, the thing is, like, the blackface thing is so stupid because they're taking something that, sure, what is blackface? Blackface was something that was done way back at the beginning of the last century, where like a lot of even then, the reason I hold Trudeau accountable is because he holds that standard, so he has to be held accountable to that standard. Because he's one of those idiots who actually says like blackface is like super racist. It's like, no. Here's what blackface was. Blackface was a mockery of black people done in the very early stages of movie history and in a lot of like actual like live plays, because black people were not allowed to be in popular productions. And so they were portrayed by white actors who would have their faces painted, and they're usually done in a very like derogatory way. Usually they're meant to mock and degrade and make fun of like black people at the time. Okay, can we look at that and say that's wrong? Absolutely, we can absolutely do that. What was the guy? What is the guy's name? Stephen from the Man Show, the one that has a nighttime show on Jimmy Kimmel. He used to be on the Man Show.
Yeah.
Okay. Jimmy Kimmel showed on the Man Show. He did a comedy skit where he pretended to be Karl Malone, who's a black guy, and he's painted himself black Karl Malone. Is that racist? No, not at all. But the problem is we're being told, we're being gaslit into thinking that anybody who wears like that shade of like color on their face, that is instantly blackface. That is instantly evil. We're being told that something is evil when it's not. It depends on the context. And can some people like actually dress up in a way that is incredibly insensitive and totally mocking of a group? Yes. But no, not every single person who wears blackface is evil. That's the problem here. Like, even if that kid had shown up wearing nothing else but just like a black face and all that, even then I'd be like, no. I would even say like that's not even evil. That's just like, and especially because he's a kid, you almost have to give him the benefit of the doubt. So like, no, this is rage farming. This is like racism farming. You're trying to manufacture racism where there is none. And it's stupid. You basically have to reject it outright. But speaking of trying to manufacture something where nothing may be there, let's talk about is this the final story?
Well, no, because I'm going to the Peter McCullough story.
Oh, second last story. That's right.
And then we'll go to Gilbo.
That's right. Okay,
so this is more of a something to think about. Peter McCullough urges preparedness on news of Chinese pneumonia outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Last week or so, many in the medical world have begun to look closely at disturbing developments in China and the relative lack of response from the government. So U.S. government agencies are fond of talking about the pandemic preparedness, passing extravagant legislation such as the PrEP Act and throwing hundreds of billions at the development of vaccines against viral respiratory illnesses, vaccines that are useless at best.
Yes, they don't
And
work.
yet, these agencies are at the moment strangely silent about a mysterious pneumonia that is affecting large numbers of children in two regions of northern China that are about 500 miles apart, Beijing and Liaoning.
Mm-hmm.
This situation reminds me of the conspicuous fact that the U.S. Consulate General's office in Wuhan, which is presumably full of spooks, apparently reported nothing about the mysterious pneumonia that started circulating in that city in the autumn of 2019.
None to see here, people.
While the American government appears to be doing nothing, McCullough is urging Americans to be prepared. We will be monitoring the situation in China closely, try to ascertain as quickly as possible what is causing the pneumonia in his position of chief scientific officer for the wellness company. Mm-hmm. McCullough is conducting investigative scholarship to ascertain what medications are most safe and effective for conditions such as the pneumonia now circulating in northern China. Our ultimate objective is to ascertain if already available FDA-approved medications could be useful in treating this pneumonia if the event it spreads to the United States. So, this is exactly what we were trying to promote during COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That other treatments were perfectly valid.
Mm-hmm.
That other treatments were far safer than the jibby jabs.
Yeah, good old jibby jabs.
And that they had already received approval, and so they don't need to go through processes.
Yep. And
there were many studies that were showing that there was promising and favorable results, but most of the problem was that the pharmaceutical corporations and the FDA, which is largely funded by the pharmaceutical organizations, wanted to profit. And so if they want to profit, then you can't use a drug where the patent has expired.
Yeah, I've never seen the thing that was crazy during COVID is that I've never seen such an incredible effort to lie to your face and lie with a smile is what I like to call it. Like the amount of like actual like blatant obvious lies that they would tell you to your face when all the evidence is pointing the other way. It was unbelievable. And the thing right now is that you heard, Stephen, about what they're trying to do right now with the WHO, right?
No.
What they're basically trying to they're in the final stages of trying to create a new kind of order where the WHO decides for your country whether or not you're in a pandemic and what to do. So instead of your country, so like Canada, deciding when we are or aren't in a pandemic, like that's now going to be outsourced to like the WHO, and they're going to decide what measures need to be taken in Canada. That's the danger thing right now.
Yeah.
So take that along with this ingredient of this mysterious new pneumonia coming out of China, and like you start to wonder, like they keep talking about it. When are they going to pull this out? And considering the 2024 elections coming soon, obviously a lot of people are thinking like, are they going to try this? We don't know. But
eyebrow raising.
I know these. They haven't learned anything.
Yes.
Well, because nobody has like faced any consequences for what they did.
No.
During COVID, nobody. Everyone's gotten away with it.
Yeah.
And there was no like darn kids like to stop them, unfortunately. And I wouldn't have gotten away with it, but I did. It's like, dang it. Where's Scooby-Doo when you need him?
Where's Scooby-Doo when you need
it? It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right. Let's go to the last story.
Go back to the last pathological liar.
Yep.
On our list,
Mr. Gilbo.
Mr.
Misleads Canadians about Smith's Sovereignty Act.
Of course he does.
Environment Minister Stephen Gilbo wasted no time responding to Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's invocation of the Sovereignty Act. Shortly after Smith officially broke the news, Gilbo responded with a statement misinforming Canadians about the federal government's role in forcing Alberta to resort to the measure. In a joint statement with the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Jonathan Wilkinson, Guilbeault took aim at Smith and her government. Premier Smith is choosing to create fear and uncertainty over collaboration and positive results for Albertans. Oh, you are so full of it.
Such a liar.
The statement mentions collaboration numerous times. Smith had previously been clear about her intention to collaborate with the federal government to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. However, Ottawa has insisted on accelerating the target year to 2035. In a press conference the same day, Alberta's Minister of Affordability and Utilities, Nathan Neudorf, reiterated that many other nations shared Alberta's goal of carbon neutrality by 2050, which has been enshrined in international agreements. Said this goal would be attainable while maintaining grid reliability and affordability, which would be impossible if the goal were pushed to 2035. I wonder why grid reliability is important.
What's your conspiracy theory here, Stephen?
Well, no, because it's not a conspiracy theory. Because grid reliability is exactly what causes the majority of wildfires in California, and it's exactly what caused the wildfire in Honolulu over the summer. Because this is what happens when you push too soon to go to green energy and research and development into green energy, then you have the entirety of your budget go towards that, and then a large portion of your budget, which would have been spent on making sure that your grid is reliable and making sure that your grid has updated technologies, and that you've actually done proper safety inspections and proper maintenance on your grid, then you can ensure that if there is some sort of power break, or if there is a, what's the term for it? A surge. If there's a surge and the line becomes unstable, that it doesn't spread and cause issues to the surrounding environment around the grid. But this is what happens in California, and this is what happened in Honolulu. This is why the energy companies in both Honolulu and California are now going under. The one in California, I think they owe the people of California 10 times more than the initial appraisal value of their company, because they've been forced by the California government to invest into this green energy electronic technology. And what they have been forced to do is skip a lot of their safety inspections, or if they do, then they kind of like cut corners because they don't have the they do not have the available funds to properly make their infrastructure safe.
Yeah. You know what I like to think is like climate change, the whole idea of climate change, is basically Y2K with no end date. You know what Y2K was, right?
Well, yeah, Y2K was this idea that when we shifted from 1999 to 2000, that we'd have this massive technological collapse.
Yeah, basically that all the computers would short circuit because they didn't program the computers to have some to basically what to do when the year turned 2000. And so all the computers everywhere are going to glitch, the airplanes are going to fly out of the sky, and there's going to be mass explosions and blackouts and chaos everywhere, right? Suddenly 2000 came and nothing happened. Everyone's like, well, got it wrong. Whoops, our bad. The problem is climate change is the same thing. It's all these fancy theories about the end of the world that is going to be brought about by the big boogeyman, fossil fuels and carbon. And the problem is that they just it's never ending. They never run out. Didn't happen in this 10 years. It'll happen in the next 10 years. We're sure of it. It never ends. And the big thing I find is that the climate change agenda, that the whole idea, because what the accusation that the Liberal government makes whenever they accuse the Conservatives, what do they always accuse them of? What's their attack when they attack the Conservatives on climate change? What is their talking point that they use ad nauseum, Stephen?
Oh, they call it climate deniers.
Yes, but they always say they have no plan. They have no plan. That's what they always say, right? The problem is that the cure is worse than the disease. And that is the problem with the Liberal government in Canada. It's the climate change. It's the biggest scam in Canadian history. It is a massive, because it affects everyone in Canada, and they're basically robbing you blind, and making you be like, thank you for robbing us because you're solving a problem that doesn't exist. It's basically you ever seen the movie or heard of the M. Night Shyamalan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Basic idea is that everyone in the village was like, there's these monsters out there, and they're always after you, and they have to stay in the village. And then at the very end, like, a couple of villagers end up escaping from this village, like despite all the fear about these monsters.
Yeah.
And then they realize that they're not in like 16th century like England or Europe. They were basically like stuck in a fictional made up like village, and they were kept in there by the fear of the big scary like monsters out there. Well, that's what Canadians are in right now. Canadians are basically being told, oh, be careful of the big scary monsters out there, the big scary like climate change is gonna get you, it's gonna get you. And be like, okay, we'll just keep giving you power and let you do your thing. That's basically what it is. It's like Canadians are being scared. And and again, this is another thing where you're not allowed to like disagree or dissent or criticize. You can't. Like in liberal government's view, it's like, nope, this is undeniable. You can't even question it. You can't even question the idea of climate change. It is the ultimate gaslight. So it's a scam. I think it's garbage. And our leaders, they don't give a crap about Canadians. They basically like look at Canadians like cows to milk. It's like, well, we just want to milk you until you're dry, and like then we'll just like get rid of you and bring some immigrants to take your place.
Yep.
Not lovely, Stephen?
Just truly lovely.
Lovely.
Truly lovely.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I don't know what you're saying all right too, but I'm going to end the show now. So, if you're following along with our live stream, so we thank you for joining us. You can join us on our live stream on Thursday. We are going to be streaming live. I'm actually going to change it up a little bit. We are going to stream live and have our open mic session on Twitch, on Twitter via Twitter Spaces, and on YouTube. So we'll be live streaming in those 3 locations, and you are free to, of course, join our Twitter Space. You are also free to join our Discord chat in terms of if you want to join the video call. So we'll try and incorporate all of that into the Thursday show. It'll be a little bit of a chaotic session, but we'll see how it goes, and hopefully Twitter Spaces works out well. I've had some minor issues in the past, so Elon, please make it so you can set these things up from your computer, because setting it up only from your phone is horrendous.
Not cool, Elon.
Not cool. We love you, Elon, but get on it.
Cool. Come on, buddy.
All right. So if you want to watch our other video content, you can check us out on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. You can also check out our text platforms at theshrewddudes.com and on Facebook, Getter, and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, here at the Shrewd Dudes Podcast, we like to remind you, why be rude when you can be shrewd? Have a great night, everybody. We will see you on Thursday for open mic night. So if you want to join that, send us a message or join our Discord chat, which you can find at our website or any other of our links. So we'll see you Thursday, and we'll hope to have some great conversations. See you then. God bless.
Good night, everybody.